Station Houston on 2, proceeding with release.
Copy.
Release commanded.
Copy.
And we just heard confirmation that the release of Cygnus has been commanded. Those latches are now in motion, preparing to release the vehicle.
Snares open. Begin monitoring for drift out.
Copy.
And at 9:11 Central Time, as Cygnus was flying over the eastern Pacific Ocean off the coast of Ecuador, we have release of the Cygnus spacecraft. The view you see here is of the latching end effector as the end effector and arm begin to back away from each other.
Proceeding to back away.
Concur, pin has exited the lee.
Copy. Pin is exited the lee.
NASA astronaut Kate Rubins continuing to monitor the spacecraft from the cupola of the International Space Station as backaway of Cygnus continues.
Back away in progress.
Copy.
Everything continuing to proceed smoothly as Cygnus continues to back away from the space station. Cygnus is loaded with over 4,000 pounds of trash.
RMS to vehicle clearance, approximately 1.5 meters.
Houston copies 1.5 meters.
Continuing monitoring.
Copy. Station Houston on 2, back away complete.
The back away complete, and I concur more than 4.5 meters, proceeding with step 4.
Good copy.
And that was the voice of Capcom Norshi Nagai confirming that the back away of the Canadarm2 is now complete. This view of the Cygnus spacecraft now flying free over the eastern Pacific Ocean off the coast of Ecuador. It's flying 261 statute miles high.
Houston Station on Space Ground 2, Cygnus depart commanded.
Houston copies. Cygnus depart commanded. Cygnus departure burn is in progress. Monitor departure burn, step 5 in 1.602.
Step 5.
And as Cygnus is flying free, we have confirmation that the 3-minute departure burn is now underway. This departure burn will move Cygnus a safe distance away from the space station, eventually out of the approach ellipsoid. Once Cygnus exits the neighborhood of the space station, flight controllers in Dulles, Virginia will take over control of the spacecraft. This view of the Cygnus spacecraft showing it flying free after it was successfully undocked from the International Space Station at 9:11 Central Time while flying over the eastern Pacific Ocean off the coast of Ecuador. Everything proceeding nominally in the departure burn. Just less than 1 minute left remaining in the departure burn, everything continuing to proceed nominally. We just received confirmation that the departure burn is now complete, that burn continuing to move the spacecraft outside of the vicinity of the space station.
Station Houston on 2 for Kate. Cygnus departure burn complete. Perform step 6 in 1.602.
Step 6. Houston Station on Space to Ground 2, Step 6 is complete, and I can confirm that was a beautiful departure. We just want to say from the International Space Station, it's been a pleasure having the Cygnus vehicle on board. Congratulations to all of the NASA and the Northrop Grumman teams. We are looking forward to following your autonomous flight and the Sapphire experiment, and thank you for bringing us the incredible amount of science and supplies to the space station.
Station Houston on 2. Thank you, Kate, for the kind words. And Cygnus has exited the 200-meter keep out sphere.
Copy all, Nemo. Thank you.
And we just heard words that Cygnus has now exited the keep out sphere, that 200-meter gate or line around the space station. Once again, Cygnus was released from the Canadarm2 of the International Space Station at 9:11 Central Time this morning, as the space station was flying over the eastern Pacific Ocean off the coast of Ecuador. Following release, Cygnus conducted a 3-minute departure burn to move it safely away from the space station. Cygnus is now heading toward its final milestone of the day, the approach ellipsoid. Once Cygnus crosses the approach ellipsoid, the flight control teams in Dulles, Virginia, will take over full control of the spacecraft. If you're just tuning in with us today, the Cygnus cargo resupply vehicle successfully undocked from the International Space Station at 9:11 Central Time while flying over the eastern Pacific Ocean off the coast of Ecuador. Cygnus then completed a 3-minute departure burn, which allowed it to back further away from the space station. Cygnus then exited the keep out sphere, which is a 200-meter gate or line around the space station. Cygnus is now heading toward its final milestone of the day, the approach ellipsoid. Once Cygnus crosses the approach ellipsoid, the flight control team in Dulles, Virginia, will take over full control of the spacecraft. Again, we had a successful undocking of the Cygnus cargo resupply vehicle from the International Space Station this morning at 9:11 Central Time.
Lab.
When Cygnus arrived to the space station on October 5th, it brought with it approximately 8,000 pounds of crew supplies, investigations, and equipment. Upon arrival at the International Space Station, the cargo was unloaded from Cygnus. For the 5th time, Cygnus hosted the Spacecraft Fire Experiment V, or Sapphire V experiment, to study the behavior of large-scale fires in microgravity. This experiment will be conducted upon the successful release of the Cygnus craft today, and once the vehicle departs the space station, before Cygnus makes its own fiery re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere over the Pacific Ocean on January 26th.
Sure thing.
A majority of the research done aboard the space station is centered around how the body adapts to the microgravity environment of space. For over 20 years, the International Space Station has served as a testbed and science laboratory and has been a critical stepping stone in our pursuit to send the first woman and next man to the moon by 2024 with the Artemis program. In a couple of minutes, we'll be looking for Cygnus to exit the approach ellipsoid, which is that 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer by 2 kilometer gate around the space station. This is the second major milestone for Cygnus today, having earlier exited the keep-out sphere. These invisible lines are also where we have checkpoints when vehicles approach the space station, helping flight controllers monitor vehicles when they are in the vicinity of the orbiting laboratory. We just heard confirmation that Cygnus is now officially out of the keep-out sphere. Today's release was monitored by NASA astronaut Kate Rubins from the cupola of the International Space Station. Also living aboard the space station are NASA astronauts Victor Glover, Shannon Walker, and Michael Hopkins, as well as Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency astronaut Soichi Noguchi. They arrived on the SpaceX Crew Dragon vehicle following the launch of the NASA SpaceX Crew 1 mission on November 15th. They arrived at the orbiting laboratory 2 days later on November 17th. Also on station are 2 Russian cosmonauts, Sergei Ryzhikov and Sergei Kutsverkov, who arrived at the orbiting platform with NASA astronaut Kate Rubins aboard a Russian Soyuz vehicle on October 14th. Recapping some of the events from today, at 7:25 a.m. Central Time, flight controllers in Houston used the Canadarm2 to unbolt Cygnus from the Earth-facing side of the Unity module of the space station and maneuvered the vehicle to its release position. With NASA astronaut Kate Rubins monitoring its release, Cygnus was released at 9:11 Central Time as the space station flew over the eastern Pacific Ocean off the coast of Ecuador. Cygnus then conducted a 3-minute departure burn, eventually exiting the keep-out sphere about 200 meters away from the station. And the final milestone came just minutes ago as the spacecraft crossed over the approach ellipsoid. Joint operations have now ended as the Northrop Grumman team has full control of the spacecraft. Cygnus will conduct 2 secondary mission objectives related to the Sapphire V burn experiments and SharkSat demonstration before it deorbits on January 26th, having spent a total of 93 days berthed to the space station. Upon its re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere over the Pacific Ocean, over 4,000 pounds of trash will harmlessly burn up. With Cygnus now safely departed from the vicinity of the space station, that will wrap up our release coverage for today. Thanks for tuning in with us. This is Mission Control Houston.